Ethan Cross had never thought of himself as special. He was 28 years old, lived in a small apartment in New Seattle, and worked as a data analyst for a shipping company that moved goods between Earth and the Moon. His life was steady, but also painfully ordinary. Wake up, ride the maglev train, work with numbers, eat lunch at his desk, go home, watch a show, and sleep. Repeat. He often joked with his friends that if the universe was a giant movie, then he was just an extra, in the background. Nothing exciting ever happened to him. That was why one dull Saturday afternoon he decided to order a cheap DNA ancestry test. The ads for the kits were everywhere. Discover your true origins, find lost relatives, learn about hidden traits. Ethan didn't really believe in it, but he was curious. Maybe he would find out if his family really did have Viking blood like his grandmother claimed. He also thought it would be funny to share the results with his friends. A small laugh, nothing more. The box arrived 2 days later. He opened it, followed the simple instructions, and sent his saliva sample back. Then he forgot about it. Weeks passed. He worked, scrolled through news feeds, and complained about his boss. Life was the same. Until one evening, Ethan was just heating up leftover noodles when his phone buzzed. It was an email from the DNA company. Your results are ready. Please log in. He clicked, expecting a colorful map of Earth with little percentages. Maybe 60% European, 20% Asian, 10% something else. Normal. Instead, the screen went black. For a long moment, nothing appeared. Then a new message filled the display in bold silver letters. Your lineage matches a restricted file. Please remain calm. Prepare for contact. Ethan frowned. He refreshed the page. The same message stayed. He checked the company's FAQ section, but it was gone. No normal results, no charts, just that strange text. He laughed nervously. This has to be a bug, he said to himself. Maybe the website was hacked, maybe it was a prank. But then his phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't an email. It was a video call request from an unknown channel. The caller ID was just a string of numbers and symbols. Against his better judgment, Ethan answered. The screen filled with light. Not digital light, not pixels. It felt real, shining from inside the phone. Then he saw them. Figures. Tall, elegant, and glowing faintly as if made of starlight. Their skin shimmered silver blue, their eyes like pools of liquid crystal. They wore flowing robes that looked both ancient and futuristic at the same time. One of them leaned forward, bowing deeply. His voice echoed, not through the phone's speaker, but inside Ethan's mind. At last the bloodline is found. Ethan dropped his fork. Excuse me? I think you've got the wrong number. The figure raised his head. His expression was calm but serious. Ethan Cross, descendant of House Solara, last of the royal line. The galaxy has awaited your return. Ethan blinked. House, what now? Listen, I think there's been a mistake. I just did a DNA test for fun. I'm nobody special. The figures exchanged looks. One of them whispered something in a language Ethan didn't recognize. Then the first figure spoke again. Your DNA has awakened the beacon. The ancient promise is fulfilled. Prepare yourself. We are coming. Before Ethan could reply, the call ended. His phone went dark. He sat frozen at the table, noodles forgotten. His heart thumped in his chest. Okay, that was weird. Too much weird. He decided it was some kind of viral marketing campaign. Maybe the company was launching a new science fiction show. That had to be it. But his doubt lasted only an hour, because that was when the sky above New Seattle lit up. It began as a streak of silver across the night like a falling star. People on the streets pointed and shouted. The streak grew brighter, then slowed, hovering above the city. Ethan ran to his window. His mouth dropped open. A ship. Sleek, gleaming, shaped like a crescent moon. It hummed with power as it descended silently, ignoring gravity. Every screen in the city flickered with strange symbols, and then it landed, right outside his apartment complex. People screamed, cameras flashed, and drones buzzed overhead. The ship's surface rippled like liquid metal, and a doorway formed. From it stepped the same beings Ethan had seen on his phone. Tall, luminous, beautiful in a way that felt almost unreal. The leader raised a hand, silencing the crowd. His voice boomed across the street, though his lips barely moved. People of Earth, do not fear. We come in peace. We seek only one. The air. Every eye turned to Ethan, standing frozen on his balcony. Me? He whispered. The beings looked straight at him. All at once they bowed. Your Majesty. Ethan's knees nearly gave out. Nope, I think you've got the wrong guy. I'm not a Majesty, I'm just Ethan. I eat cold noodles for dinner. The leader smiled faintly. Greatness often hides in the ordinary, but your blood cannot lie. Before Ethan could argue, one of the aliens stepped forward carrying something, a small sphere that glowed like a captured star. He touched it gently, and the sphere projected an image into the air, a family tree. Names Ethan didn't know, stretching back centuries. At the very top was a symbol shaped like a rising sun. At the bottom, glowing brighter than the rest, was Ethan's own name. Ethan rubbed his eyes. This can't be real. The leader spoke again. The galaxy remembers the House of Solara. Once rulers, now scattered. For generations we searched for the last heir, and now we have found you. The crowd gasped, phones recording every second. But Ethan felt his stomach twist. This couldn't be happening. He wasn't a king. He wasn't even good at paying his bills on time. Then, as if the shock wasn't enough, something stranger happened. From the ship, a smaller figure stepped out, shorter, glowing faintly with curious bright eyes. He looked young, almost like a child. The boy walked straight, up to Ethan, staring at him with wonder. Then he said in perfect English, "Father?" The world tilted. Ethan stumbled back. "What did you just call me?" The boy smiled wide. "Father, at last I found you." Gasps erupted from the crowd. The aliens all bowed even deeper. Ethan shook his head rapidly. "Nope. No way. I don't even have a girlfriend, let alone a kid. This is impossible." But the boy ran forward and hugged him tightly around the waist. The warmth felt real. The weight felt real. Ethan froze, too stunned to move. The leader's voice rang out once more. "It is as foretold. The child of destiny has awakened, and only his true father could complete the bond." Ethan looked down, at the boy clinging to him, then back at the glowing aliens, then at the dozens of people recording everything on their phones. Somewhere deep in his mind, a single thought echoed. I just wanted to know if I had Viking ancestry. But now, apparently, he was a father. And if the aliens were telling the truth, a royal heir about to be dragged into something far bigger than he had ever imagined. Ethan Cross had no idea what to do with the small glowing boy who now called him father. The crowd outside his apartment complex had gone wild. News drones buzzed overhead, recording every angle of the strange scene. People whispered, shouted, or simply stared with wide eyes as Ethan stood frozen with the child hugging his waist. The aliens, tall and shimmering, stood calmly behind the boy, as though all of this was completely natural. Ethan finally managed to find his voice. I think there's been some kind of mistake. I don't have kids. I've never had kids. I'm not a dad." But the boy looked up at him with those glowing crystal blue eyes and said again happily, "Yes, you are. You're my father. I can feel it." The word father hit Ethan's chest like a heavy stone. He tried to step back, but the boy clung tighter. His small hands glowed faintly, and Ethan felt a strange warmth spread through him. Not painful, but powerful, like electricity mixed with love. The leader of the aliens raised a hand. "Do not resist. The bond is real. This is Kale, child of the royal line. He was created to awaken only when his true parent was found. He has waited for you." "Waited? For me?" Ethan repeated, his voice cracking. "I didn't even know he existed. I was just eating leftover noodles an hour ago." The alien bowed. Your life was hidden, Majesty, for your protection. The dynasty left Kale in stasis, preserved until your return. Now he is free. Ethan looked down at the boy again. Kale smiled up at him, cheerful, as though nothing about this situation was strange at all. Ethan's thoughts swirled like a storm. This has to be a dream, a prank, some advanced VR simulation. Any second I'll wake up back in my boring apartment. But Kale tugged on his sleeve and said softly, "Don't worry, Father. I'll protect you." That didn't sound like a dream. A child with powers. Within minutes, the authorities arrived. Police drones hovered, and armored vehicles blocked the streets. Officers shouted through speakers demanding the aliens identify themselves. But before anything could escalate, Kale raised a small hand. The air shimmered. The vehicles, the drones, even the weapons froze in place as though caught in invisible chains. The crowd gasped. Ethan nearly fainted. "What did you just do?" Kyle tilted his head innocently. "I stopped them from hurting us." The boy's glow pulsed faintly brighter, then faded as he lowered his hand. Everything released at once. Drones wobbled, cars sagged, officers stumbled. Ethan stared at him in shock. You can't just freeze police cars like that. That's insane." Kale blinked. "It was easy." The aliens looked pleased. The leader nodded. "The child has inherited the gifts of Solara, power over matter, energy, and thought. Truly, he is of your blood." Ethan pressed his palms to his face. "Great. Not only am I apparently royalty, but my so-called son is a walking supernova. Just perfect." The world reacts by morning. The story was everywhere. Every channel on Earth played the footage. A mysterious ship landing, luminous aliens bowing, a glowing child calling an ordinary man father. Talk shows, scientists, conspiracy theorists, all of them debated nonstop. Some said it was a government experiment. Others claimed Ethan was a chosen one from prophecy. A few even suggested it was an elaborate prank by an alien prank show. Ethan couldn't leave his apartment. Reporters camped outside the building, shouting questions. News drones hovered by his window. Inside, Kale sat cross-legged on the carpet, happily humming to himself while levitating Ethan's furniture a few inches off the floor. Ethan held his head in his hands. Please stop floating my couch. I can't take this right now." Kyle giggled and gently lowered everything back down. "Sorry, Father. I just wanted to make the place nicer." The aliens stayed close, standing in corners like silent guards. They barely ate, barely spoke, always watching. Ethan tried reasoning with them. "Listen, I think you've got the wrong guy. I can't be this kid's father. I don't even know how any of this works. I'm human, just human." But the leader replied calmly, "Human, yes, but also heir. The blood of Solara flows within you. No test can deny it. You may not have expected the child, but the bond proves it." Ethan groaned. "You know, when I signed up for that DNA test, I was hoping to find out if my family came from Ireland, not from outer space." Learning to be a dad, the next few days were chaos. Kale refused to leave Ethan's side. Everywhere Ethan went, Kale followed, through the kitchen to the bathroom door, even when Ethan tried to sleep. At night, Kyle curled up on the floor near his bed, glowing faintly like a nightlight. It was both comforting and unnerving. Ethan tried his best to explain basic Earth things to him, like why you shouldn't eat an entire bag of marshmallows in one sitting, or why you can't just levitate cats for fun. Kale listened with wide eyes, nodding seriously. But within minutes, he was usually floating spoons or trying to improve the toaster by making it shoot golden flames. Ethan had never felt more exhausted in his life. Being a parent, apparently, was hard enough. Being a parent to a child, who could bend reality, nearly impossible. But something strange happened, too. Despite the stress, despite the fear, Ethan started to feel responsible. When Kale smiled at him, or held his hand, or called him father with such simple trust, something inside Ethan softened. Maybe he hadn't chosen this. Maybe it was insane. But Kale believed in him completely, and that mattered. The galaxy watches. It wasn't just Earth that was watching. The aliens explained that the message of Ethan's awakening had spread across the stars. Entire empires, long at war or uneasy peace, had heard the news. The last heir of Solara had returned, and with him, the child destined to unite or destroy them all. Some worlds rejoiced, others sharpened their weapons, armies prepared to march. Now, aliens urged Ethan to come with them immediately, to begin his training and claim his throne. Ethan refused at first. "No way, I'm not leaving Earth. I have a job, a life, well, okay, not much of a life, but it's mine. I can't just hop on a spaceship and be a king." But then Kale looked at him with big, hopeful eyes. "Please, Father, I want to see where I come from. I want to learn." Ethan's heart sank. How could he say no to that, a father's first decision? The day came when the aliens prepared their ship. The world outside was still in chaos, governments demanding answers, media begging for interviews. But Ethan knew he couldn't stay. Kyle held his hand tightly, glowing softly with excitement. Ethan looked out the window one last time at the city he knew. Neon lights, busy streets, ordinary people with ordinary lives. A life he would never have again. He sighed. "All right, fine, I'll go. But I'm not promising anything. I'm not promising I'll be a king, or a hero, or whatever you think I'm supposed to be. I'm just me." The leader bowed deeply. "That is enough. The galaxy will see in time." As the ship's ramp lowered, Kale tugged Ethan forward. "Don't worry, Father. We'll do it together." And for the first time, Ethan didn't correct him, because maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe it himself. The ship carrying Ethan and Kale left Earth in silence. Through the window, Ethan watched his home planet shrink into a blue and white marble. He pressed his forehead to the glass and whispered, "Goodbye, noodles. Goodbye, rent payments. Goodbye, normal life." Kale stood beside him, glowing faintly with excitement. "Father, look, we are flying to the stars." Ethan forced a smile. "Yeah, buddy. First trip off Earth, and I didn't even pack a toothbrush." The alien guardians, tall, luminous, always serious, stood around the ship's control room. Their leader, Aralos, turned toward Ethan and bowed. "Your Majesty, our journey will be brief. The High Council of Allied Worlds awaits your arrival. It is time for you to be recognized." Ethan raised his hands quickly. "Hold on. Recognized as what? I didn't agree to any ceremony. I just came because you insisted I'm this boy's. That's all." Aralos's expression didn't change. "You are the last of Solara. Your presence alone will shift the balance of the galaxy. Already rival empires move to test your claim. To protect both you and the child, we must act swiftly." Ethan muttered under his breath. "Great. First I'm a dad, now I'm a political target. What's next?" He didn't have to wait long for the answer. Arrival at the Grand Hall hours later. The ship descended onto a massive station orbiting a golden star. Ethan's mouth fell open at the sight. The station looked like an enormous ring, glittering with lights, with entire cities built along its surface. Ships of every size and shape hovered nearby, sleek silver cruisers, organic-looking vessels, like giant seashells, and bulky machines bristling with weapons. Inside, the halls were lined with beings from dozens of worlds. Some had wings, others had shimmering scales, others looked almost human except for glowing patterns on their skin. All of them turned to stare as Ethan walked past. He kept whispering to himself, "Don't trip, don't say anything dumb, just smile and wave." Kale walked proudly at his side, holding his hand. The boy didn't seem nervous at all. At the center of the station was a vast chamber, the Grand Hall of the Allied Worlds. It was shaped like a circle, with rows of thrones and seats rising upward like a stadium. Hundreds of alien leaders sat, watching. At the very center stood a raised platform with a glowing symbol, the crest of Solara. Aralos gestured toward it. "Please, Majesty." Ethan stepped onto the platform. His heart pounded. He had never given a speech in his life, and now an entire galaxy was staring at him. Before he could say anything, a loud voice echoed through the chamber. "The heir of Solara has been found. But to lead, He must first be bound by alliance. Ethan blinked. Bound alliance? What are you talking about? From one of the thrones, a figure rose. She was tall, armored in silver and black, with sharp eyes that glowed like burning embers. A long cloak trailed behind her, and at her side hung a curved blade. Her presence was so commanding that even the other alien leaders shifted uncomfortably. Aerolos bowed deeply. Captain Saris Valen, Princess of the Draken Worlds. She has offered alliance through the ancient custom of engagement. Ethan's jaw dropped. Engagement? As in marriage? Engagement? The entire hall murmured with approval. Apparently this was expected. Ethan pointed at himself. Wait. I think you've got the wrong human. I'm not ready for marriage. I can barely take care of myself, let alone a royal warrior princess. Saris stepped forward, her gaze sharp as steel. You doubt my worth? Ethan waved, his hands frantically. No, not at all. You're, very worthy. Worthful? Worth-like? I'm just saying I'm the problem here. I'm not, well, look at me. I'm not exactly king material. Kale tugged on his sleeve. Father, she looks strong. She could protect us. Ethan groaned. Oh, don't you start too. Meeting Saris after the ceremony, Ethan was brought to a private chamber with Saris. She stood tall and silent, studying him like a hawk. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. So, this is awkward. You probably wanted someone brave and heroic. Instead, you got me. A guy who once burned soup in a microwave. Saris tilted her head. You are weaker than I expected. See? Exactly what I was saying. Ethan sighed. But, she continued, you stood before the council and did not flee, and the child clings to you with trust. That is interesting. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. Interesting is just a polite way of saying confusing. Saris crossed her arms. Do not think I agreed to this lightly. My people respect strength. If you prove unworthy, I will end the arrangement. Ethan held up his hands. Deal. I won't complain. Honestly, I'd be relieved. I'm not cut out for... But before he could finish, Kale burst into the room, floating 3 glowing orbs around him. Father, look, I learned a new trick. Ethan nearly fell over. Kale, put those down before you explode something. Saris raised an eyebrow, impressed. The child is powerful. Ethan sighed. Too powerful. He's like a nuclear toddler. Kale giggled and dropped the orbs. They vanished into sparks. Then he grabbed Saris's hand boldly. You should marry my father. He needs help. Ethan covered his face. Great. My own kid is shipping me off into marriage negotiations. Saris smirked for the first time. Perhaps the boy is wiser than you think. A test of worth, the council was not content with just words. They demanded Ethan prove himself in a traditional trial. It wasn't a duel of weapons, thankfully, but a challenge of leadership. Ethan was placed in command of a simulation. Holographic fleets clashed in space, and he had to make decisions while advisors shouted confusing terms. At first, he panicked. He had no idea what a quantum spear barrage or shield inversion protocol meant. But instead of trying to follow their complicated strategies, he thought differently. He remembered his boring job as a data analyst, organizing shipments, rerouting cargo, solving problems with limited resources. It wasn't glamorous, but it taught him to improvise. So instead of fighting directly, he used the holographic fleet like a shipping manager. He redirected resources, tricked the enemy into chasing decoys, and even faked a retreat to lure them into a trap. When the simulation ended, the council murmured in surprise. Ethan had won, without traditional strategy, but with creativity. Kale cheered. Father is the best. Saris gave him a long look. You are reckless, but clever. Ethan shrugged. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in a long time. Building respect. Over the next days, Saris and Ethan spent more time together. At first, they argued constantly. She was disciplined and serious, while he was sarcastic and clumsy. But slowly, they began to understand each other. Saris, saw that Ethan's human humor and empathy disarmed people in ways brute strength never could. He could make allies laugh, calm tensions, and turn strangers into friends. Ethan saw that Ceres's discipline wasn't just about pride. She carried the weight of protecting her people, of proving her worth in a galaxy that respected only power. One night after Kale had fallen asleep, Ceres asked softly, "Do you truly doubt yourself so much?" Ethan sighed. "All the time. Back home I was just nobody. I never led anyone. I never won anything. I was just another face in the crowd." Ceres studied him. "Perhaps that is why you are different. You know what it is to be ordinary. You know how others feel. That is a strength no warrior can learn." For once, Ethan didn't have a sarcastic reply. An engagement announced. Finally, the council made its decision. They declared Ethan the rightful heir of Solara, and his engagement to Ceres Valen was announced across the stars. The galaxy buzzed with shock. Some empires celebrated. Others plotted in secret. Ethan sat in his new chamber, head in his hands. "I can't believe this. Engaged, a dad. And apparently some kind of royal figure. This is insane." Kyle sat beside him, glowing happily. "It's not insane, Father. It's our adventure." Ceres entered the room, standing tall. "Do not be afraid, Ethan. You are not alone. We will face what comes together." Ethan Cross never imagined his life could change so fast. Only a few weeks earlier, he had been a normal man on Earth, working with numbers and eating leftovers. Now he was on a starship, engaged to a warrior princess, the father of a glowing child, and officially declared heir to an ancient galactic dynasty. Everywhere he went, people, or aliens, bowed to him. Soldiers saluted, servants brought food, and leaders waited for his words. Ethan wanted to shout at them all, "I don't know what I'm doing," but he didn't. He just smiled nervously and tried to keep up. Kale, of course, seemed to be enjoying everything. The boy ran through the halls of the great station, laughing as he made tiny stars dance in his palms. Wherever he went, people whispered about the child of destiny. Ceres Valen, Ethan's newly announced fiancée, watched everything with her usual sharp gaze. She trained daily with her soldiers, sparred with Kale when he asked, and kept a close eye on Ethan. Sometimes he thought she was guarding him, other times testing him. But beyond the shining halls of the allied worlds, danger was growing. The first attack one evening, alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed and the calm voice of the intercom announced, "Incoming hostile fleet. All defenses active." Ethan's heart jumped. Hostile fleet? As in, actual enemies? Already? Aralos, the tall alien guardian, bowed quickly. "It begins, Majesty. Rival empires will not wait for you to grow strong. They move now, hoping to strike before your rule takes root." Through the viewing screens, Ethan saw dark ships approaching. They were jagged, spiked, and radiated red light. Unlike the elegant allied vessels, these looked like predators. Kyle pressed against the glass, eyes wide. "Father, they're coming!" Ceres snapped her blade onto her belt. "The Catharn Empire. They were the first to oppose Solara. They will not stop until you are destroyed." Ethan swallowed hard. Great. No pressure. Fighter squadrons launched. Battleships moved into formation and energy cannons lit the void. Ethan had never seen anything like it. Flashes of light brighter than lightning, explosions blooming silently in space. But it wasn't enough. The Catharn fleet pushed forward, their weapons tearing through defenses. Aralos turned to Ethan. "Majesty, they fight in your name. They will need your command." Ethan pointed at himself. "Me? I don't know how to command a space battle. I can barely command a pizza delivery." But Kale tugged his arm. "Father, you can. You think differently, like in the trial." Ethan looked at the boy, then at Ceres, who was watching him closely. For once, she didn't look doubtful, she looked expectant. Ethan took a deep breath. "Okay, fine, let's do this." Human thinking. The commanders fed him tactical data. Numbers, fleet positions, weapon strengths. It was overwhelming. But Ethan did what he always did at work. He simplified. "Okay," he muttered. "Think like shipping routes. Don't fight them head on. Make them waste time." He gave strange orders, pulling back some ships, leaving others exposed, moving fleets in patterns that looked chaotic. The commanders argued, but Sarah snapped at them. "Obey him." Minutes later, the enemy fleet took the bait. Believing the Allies were retreating, they pushed forward into a trap. Ethan had hidden strike groups behind an asteroid belt, waiting. When the trap closed, the Catharn fleet was suddenly surrounded. The Allied cannons fired in unison, ripping through their ships. Cheers erupted in the control room. The enemy retreated, limping away into the dark. Ethan slumped in his chair, wiping sweat from his forehead. Did we just win?" Kyle cheered. "We did. You saved everyone." Saris nodded, a rare smile touching her lips. "Not bad, human, not bad at all," Ethan muttered. "Not bad for a guy who used to calculate cargo shipments." Enemies and allies' news of the battle spread quickly. Some empires celebrated Ethan's clever victory. Others grew fearful, realizing he might not be as weak as they hoped. Ambassadors from distant worlds arrived, offering gifts and pledges of loyalty. Ethan had to sit through endless ceremonies, smiling politely while trying not to fall asleep during speeches. But not all visitors were friendly. Assassins tried twice to sneak onto the station. Spies were caught sending messages to rival fleets. Even during peaceful talks, Ethan felt the tension. Every handshake carried the weight of suspicion. Kale stayed close to him, often holding his hand during long councils. Saris remained his shield, standing by his side with her hand always near. Her weapon, Ethan often thought, "I didn't choose this, I just wanted a normal life." But now when he saw Kale's smile or Saris's fierce loyalty, he realized he couldn't walk away. The galaxy was watching him, and more importantly, Kale was depending on him. Kale's struggle, but Kale's powers were growing too fast. Some nights Ethan woke to find the boy glowing brighter than ever, objects floating wildly around the room. Kale's voice would tremble. "Father, I can't control it. I don't want to hurt anyone." Ethan knelt beside him, pulling him close. "Hey, you won't hurt anyone. You've got me, okay? We'll figure this out together." Saris watched quietly from the doorway. Later, she told Ethan, "The child carries the power of worlds. If left untrained, he could become a danger greater than any empire." Ethan shook his head. "He's not a danger. He's a kid. My kid. He just needs someone to believe in him." For the first time, Saris softened. "You truly see him as your son?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Yeah. I didn't ask for this, but when he looks at me like that, how could I not?" The council divided. The Allied Council was not united. Some leaders wanted Ethan crowned immediately. Others feared he was too inexperienced. Some argued that Kale should be separated from him and trained in isolation. That last idea made Ethan furious. "He's not a weapon. He's a child. And he stays with me." The council chambers erupted in argument. Sarah stood beside Ethan, hand on her blade, glaring at anyone who challenged him. Finally, Aralos calmed the chamber. "Enough. The heir has spoken. The boy remains with him. But we must be prepared. The Catharn will return and others will join them." Ethan looked around the hall, at the countless eyes watching him. For the first time, he raised his voice with strength. "I don't know your traditions, I don't know your wars, but I know this. If you want peace, if you want unity, you have to stop treating people like tools. Kyle isn't just power, he's hope. And if you stand with us, we'll find a way to end this fighting. Not just win battles, end them." The hall fell silent. Some leaders looked skeptical, but others looked inspired. A bond of trust later. In a quiet chamber, Saris confronted him. "You speak as though you are already a ruler, yet you claim you are not ready." Ethan sighed. "I'm not ready, but I'm learning. Every day. And as long as Kale believes in me, I'll keep trying." Saris studied him for a long time, then nodded. "Perhaps that is what makes you dangerous. To our enemies, you do not seek power for yourself, you seek it for others. Ethan chuckled. Or maybe I'm just trying not to mess up too badly. For once, Saris laughed softly. Perhaps both. A storm ahead peace did not last long. Scouts soon reported that 3 rival empires were forming an alliance against Ethan. Their fleets were gathering, larger than anything the Allied worlds had seen in centuries. The galaxy trembled on the edge of all-out war. In the strategy chamber, Ethan stared at the maps of star systems glowing red with enemy movements. His stomach turned. Kale sat beside him, small hand on his arm. We can do it, Father. Together. Ethan looked at Saris, standing tall and unflinching, then at Aerolos, calm and watchful. He took a deep breath. Then we'll be ready. Whatever comes, we'll face it. Outside the station windows, the stars shone cold and endless. Somewhere out there, vast armies were marching, and for the first time in his life, Ethan wasn't just a bystander. He was at the center of it all, father, fiancé, and heir. The galaxy was in turmoil, and the real storm was only beginning. Reports came from every corner of space. The Catharn Empire had joined with 2 other rival powers, forming a war alliance large enough to crush entire star systems. Their combined fleets were already moving, sweeping across neutral worlds, forcing planets to bend to their will. The Allied worlds were afraid. Even with Ethan's recent victory, they knew they could not face this storm alone. Ethan Cross sat in the strategy chamber, staring at the glowing map of the stars. Red markers spread across the map like fire. His hands shook slightly as he leaned forward. I don't get it, he muttered. I didn't ask for this, I didn't want this, but now all these people, they're depending on me. Kyle, his glowing son, sat beside him, swinging his legs. The boy's eyes glimmered with quiet determination. Father, you can do it. I believe in you. Ethan gave a weak smile. You're way too confident in me, kiddo. Across the table, Saris Valen stood tall, her arms crossed, her voice calm but strong. Belief is not weakness. It is the foundation of leadership. You must act, Ethan, or the galaxy will fall. Ethan rubbed his face. No pressure, huh? But deep down, he knew she was right. The challenge, soon after, a message arrived from the rival alliance. It was broadcast across every known channel so the entire galaxy could see. A massive figure appeared on the screen, armored in black metal with eyes glowing red. His voice rumbled like thunder. So, the lost heir dares to rise. We will not allow it. But we are merciful. If he wishes to claim his throne, let him face the ancient trial. One battle, one champion. Winner decides the fate of the galaxy. The galaxy gasped at the challenge. It was an ancient tradition, long forgotten. Leaders, settling wars through chosen heirs instead of full-scale destruction. Saris turned to Ethan. This is no accident. They want to test you. They believe you will fail. Ethan paled. Me? They expect me to fight. I can't even do 10 push-ups. But the rules were clear. The leader could choose a representative, an heir. Ethan looked at Kale. The boy's glow brightened as if he already knew. No, Ethan said immediately. Absolutely not. You're just a kid. Kyle's voice was soft but firm. Father, I'm not just a kid. I'm your heir. This is my trial too. Ethan's heart twisted. The thought of Kale stepping into danger was unbearable. But Sarah spoke carefully. He may be young, but his power is unmatched. If anyone can stand against the enemy's champion, it is him. The galaxy will not follow a king who hides behind fear. Ethan clenched his fists. He hated it, but he knew she was right. Finally, with a trembling voice, he said, Okay, Kale will fight, but not as a weapon, not as a monster. He'll fight as my son. Preparing the air training began at once. Saris sparred with Kyle daily, teaching him focus and discipline. The boy's abilities grew sharper. He learned to control energy blasts, create shields, and move faster than the eye could follow. But what mattered most wasn't strength. It was choice. At night, Ethan sat with Kale, telling him stories from Earth, of ordinary heroes, people who helped others not with power, but with kindness and courage. Cale listened closely. So being strong isn't just about fighting? Ethan nodded. Exactly. It's about knowing when not to fight, about protecting people, even your enemies if you can. Kyle smiled. Then that's what I'll do. Saris watched these talks quietly. One night, she admitted, "You are teaching him something no warrior ever taught me. Mercy." Ethan chuckled softly. Guess humanity's got a few tricks after all. The day of the trial came. Across the galaxy, billions tuned in to watch. On a barren world, an arena was built. Vast, ancient, carved into the stone by civilizations, long gone. Ethan stood at the edge with Saris, heart racing as Cale walked to the center. The boy glowed brighter than ever, calm but determined. From the opposite side came the enemy champion, a towering figure of fire and steel, armed with a massive blade crackling with energy. The crowd roared. The trial began. Cale moved like light, dodging the champion's strikes, his small hands blazing with power. He created shields, hurled blasts of energy, and held his ground. The champion struck harder, faster, trying to crush him. Ethan shouted from the sidelines. Kyle, remember what we talked about. Don't let anger control you. Kyle nodded, even as sweat ran down his face. Finally, with one brilliant burst, he disarmed the champion, sending the massive blade crashing into the dust. The enemy warrior fell to his knees, defeated. The crowd gasped. Kyle stood over him, glowing with victory. He raised his hand. One final strike could end it, but then he lowered it. I won't destroy you, Cale said loudly, his voice echoing across the arena. I choose mercy. I choose peace. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. A new vision. The trial ended. Cale's victory could not be denied. By tradition, the rival empires had to submit. But what truly shook them was not his power. It was his mercy. Ethan stepped forward, pulling Cale into a tight hug. His voice broke as he whispered, You did it, son. You did it better than I ever could. Cale beamed. We did it, father. Together. Saris approached, bowing her head slightly. You have changed the galaxy today, not with fear but with hope. Ethan looked at the crowd of leaders, soldiers, and citizens watching. He raised his voice, unsteady but growing stronger. I was never meant to be a ruler, I was just me. But maybe that's why I can see what others forgot. Strength isn't about crushing your enemies. It's about lifting people up. If we want peace, if we want a future, then we have to build it together, not through war, through trust. For a long moment, the galaxy was silent. Then slowly, one by one, the leaders bowed. The message was clear. The heir of Solara had not only returned, he had redefined what it meant to rule. A new beginning back. On the station, celebrations filled the halls. Banners of Solara shone, songs echoed through the chambers, and people of every world cheered Ethan's name. He sat quietly in his chamber, exhausted. Saris stood nearby, Cale curled up asleep in his lap, glowing faintly like a lantern. Ethan stroked Cale's hair and muttered, So this is my life now. A dad, engaged to a warrior princess, and apparently in charge of a galaxy. Saris smirked, faintly. Do you regret it? Ethan looked at Cale, then at Saris. He thought of Earth, of his old life, of noodles and numbers and loneliness. Then he thought of now. Chaos, yes, but also family. He smiled softly, not even a little. Outside the window, the stars stretched endlessly. Once they had seemed unreachable. Now they were his responsibility. And for the first time, Ethan Cross didn't feel like an extra in the background of the universe. He felt like he belonged at the center of the story.